How do you go from building decks and doing bathrooms to running a roofing business that's 10x in growth? David Hoisington's journey with Complete Roofing Systems is a testament to the power of focus and niching down. In this episode, we explore the decision to focus solely on roofing and how it transformed the business. David is the co-owner of Complete Roofing Systems. He has navigated the ups and downs of running a contracting business, and his story is one of perseverance and learning when to say no to the wrong jobs in order to grow the right way. So get ready to learn about the power of specialization and focus in building a successful roofing business. So let's dive into this episode with David Hoisington. Welcome to the Roofing Success Podcast. I'm Jim Ahlin, and I'm here to bring you insights from top leaders in the roofing industry to help you grow and scale your roofing business. Hey, welcome to another episode of the Roofing Success Podcast. If you haven't subscribed. If you haven't followed, follow. Leave us a review. Leave us a comment. We love all of those things. Today, we have my friend David Hoisington from Pennsylvania, Complete Roofing Systems. How's it going, man?
Good. Thanks for having me on here.
Yeah, we got to spend some time out in Salt Lake, out in the Salt Lake area at one of the Job Nimbus events, and man, good conversations, and you're doing a lot of fun stuff with your business. And I wanted to kind of have this conversation, but let's talk about first how did you get into roofing?
Yeah, so I guess it's a long story, but I think we can pick some things out of it. In high school, I was working for a builder. I loved building, and the foreman, he did roofing on the side. So we were like moonlighting roofs on weekends, evenings, just hustling. Then I went to college to learn how to do home building. I went for 4 years. And when I was in college, I didn't really care to hang out on the weekends. So I'd drive 2.5 hours home. Here I am leaving. I scheduled my classes so I could leave Thursday afternoon to get back and do some more work Thursday, Friday, Saturday. So I was doing that for a while. Then my foreman's like, man, our gutter guy just fell off the face of the earth. Where'd he go? So I told my buddy's dad, who I grew up with, he had a business. I always idolized him, what he was doing. And I'm like, hey, if you ever see a gutter machine, let me know. Well, he actually dropped us off, my family off at the airport. We were flying to Portland, Oregon. This is back in the day of flip phones. And the story's a little exaggerated, but I got off the plane and I opened my flip phone and turned my phone on. And here's Jay calling me. This guy just said he was going to win this auction on eBay. I don't know who he thinks he is, but I'm getting this gutter machine. And I'm 19 and I have no money. I'm in college. And I'm like, no, Jay, don't do it. Don't do it. Well, he did it. So then I got that going. I kind of got out of the roofing thing and just focused on the gutters because I was working for a lot of roofers and I didn't want to be roofing and guttering. I'm in a small town. So it's oh, I saw you doing a roof. You're my competition. I'm not going to give you the gutters. So I did that while I was in college. I graduated college and I think it was 2010, the market tanked and they're like, you got to do an internship, and there was no one hiring. So I'm like, well, I have my own business. Can I intern myself? And the guy said no. So I never got my college degree. I went for 4 years, never got my degree. And now I'm known as Gutter Dave. So I went to college for 4 years to learn how to build houses. And here I am doing probably the most brainless thing on a house, screwing a gutter on. So that's that story. Then I probably another 5 years, I ended up building the gutter company up to 3 crews. Then I met my business partner now, and we bid on the same job, and he got the job. And I called him up. And I'm like, hey, man, these are special order materials. If you need them, don't drive to Ohio. I got them. And I didn't really know the guy, but I didn't realize he was such a nice guy. And he's like, hey, you do the job. Why don't and then I'm like, Mike, I don't need to do the job. So we're just fighting back and forth on phones and texts and conversations. I ended up doing the job. And he's like, you do the job, just help me out. So long story short, I brought my crew in and he brought his crew in, and we did this big siding job in the winter. It was horrible conditions. It was snowing and raining on us the whole time. And it was this big, elderly care center. It was the foundation was a mile long. And we're like, we have no business doing the siding, but my crew and his crew, we just clicked together, and everything was like going so good. And I'm just like, man, maybe we got something here. Then he's like, hey man, you want to just take 50% of my company and be a partner with me? And I'm like, I was like, okay, I didn't really know this guy enough, but then after I said yes, and we were kind of like merging the companies together. And at that time we were doing he was doing bathrooms, kitchens, decks, roofing. But really what we found out after like 2 or 3 years is like roofing's paying the bills for all this stuff. So we finally, after 2 or 3 hard years, we're like, the more we say no to decks, all this stuff, we started growing. Then finally we're like, you know what, let's say no to siding. And so now all we do is roofing and gutters. And it's just like, since we made that choice maybe 2 or 3 years ago, I'd probably 10x'd, and it's just been an incredible journey. So there's my long story, but
yeah, no, that's great, man. That's the story of a lot of successful companies. It's a lot of times early on, we think we need that money, right? We need that job. We need to, there's money in front of us. We have to take it. And I do think that there is a place in the early stages of your business where, yeah, go do that job, get the check, right? But it definitely becomes a place where saying no is more beneficial than saying yes. What were some of the hard thoughts on that? Like, what were some of the things, like hard discussions that you guys had, like around that?
Hey, are we going to have enough work to keep all the guys busy? Like, hey, we're going to have to let some guys go, because we had some really good foremans that were great at building decks, doing bathrooms, things like that. And we're just like, we were too spread out, and we didn't have the office staff to control everything. And it was like, man, then it was like every time we did a roof job, it just ended up, okay, we got money in the account, let's get this paid for. So it was just that dance. But the hardest thing was just the people. I didn't want to let these people go. So finally we're like, all right, let's just do this. Then when we had those talks with the people, they're like, hey, this is great. Like, I got all this work on the side. I was meaning to tell you about it. So then it worked out even better. So like when we did a roof and like, hey, the customer wanted a dormer built, we'd like call them up. Hey, Travis, like, you want to come build this dormer? Like, we don't even want to do it. We're saying no. Came in here, did it. And it's like all these hard things in business, if we just confront them, get over our feelings, it usually works out good. Like I always say, like, adversity is always my advantage. And like everything that's been happening to me, like everything adversity, it's always so good. In the last 2 weeks, I've had the most amount of adversity ever, in the last being in business for 15 years. And now I can start to see the good things through it. So
yeah, it's amazing. Another thing, what I love about that story is especially your team being like, oh, this is great. Like, I'm going to go do that. I've been talking about this recently, but I had a coaching call with someone, and I was talking to them about they were struggling with letting someone go that was with them for a long time, but they just weren't performing. And I was like, man, that like you always a good story starts with I got fired from, or I even with your story. I didn't get to graduate college because there was no internships available. So I just had to turn this way and do what I had to do. There's these moments in life. And I would assume that a lot of those team members that you were struggling, man, we got to keep this going for so-and-so, right? Like, right. And then you brought the decision up and they're like, perfect. I'm out of here. Like, this is great.
I know, like, all these things, like, I wish I could, I always tell myself, like, when I'm going through a hard time like this, like enjoy it. Don't get stressed out. Like, don't lose sleep and all this stuff. Then, like, every single time I do all of that, then like, okay, it's the day, let's have the conversation. Boom. It's great. I mean, we just, some of the hardest things we've had to do lately is like, some of your employees at like when you were doing, 100 roofs a year might not be your employees at 500 a year. And that's not because they're good or bad. It's just like, we need more time from them. We need them in the office. And we just had to let go of an employee of 14 years ago. It was mutual, but there was tears involved. There was sleepless nights. It was horrible, but like when we ended that, I'm like, I hope the best for you. I hope, leaving here, you're
Yeah.
better. You have weight lifted off your shoulders. I hope you make more money. I hope when I see you, you're so happy, and I think, that person hopes the best for us too. But it's like, if you don't do those things, you just struggle, and the wheel does not keep turning. Roofing's really simple. It's that circle, that wheel: marketing, sales, production. Then you got your accounting, and it's like, if you're slacking in any one of those, I mean, that gear isn't turning right. So it's just tough. And that's where like being small, the owner is involved with all those things. But then when you get over to this point where we've grown, and I'm not saying we're huge or anything, but it's big, like this was my dream, but it's like, man, if I knew this was going to be this tough, I would have changed that dream in a heartbeat. But we're there, you know what I mean? We're right there. Everyone's on board, and it's just a really exciting time for our company right now. We're finishing our new warehouse and office, and we've needed that for years. So just a really good time. But also, it's like we've been hitting those difficult times, and oh man, a lot of stuff.
I want to talk about that with you. I want to talk about this. Like, I love this. What was the original dream was what?
Oh man. So back when I was gutter Dave, it was like, hey, I want like 2 or 3 gutter crews. And we did that. We had those crews going with, we were just going nuts guttering us rural America or rural Pennsylvania. But then once I got connected with Mike complimented me so well. Like, I'm the structure guy, I'm the process guy. Mike's like, hey, we can do 200 roofs a year. And I'm like, what? How are we going to do that? You're nuts. But then like, he kind of like instills the vision in me. Then if I can see it, like I can produce it. So once me and Mike got on the same page where we're like, okay, let's try to do 300 roofs a year, and we knew what we needed, then that was the dream. Then the dream was, okay, now that we've proven that this can work in a rural area, because everybody's belief here is you got to do siding, you got to build a deck, you got to do roofing to stay busy. We're the guys that are like showing our area that, hey, you can be really good at one thing, and it's only good for you, and it's really good for the customer. Like, why would you want your roofer to be able to install tile in a bathroom? And why would you want your tile guy to be able to put a roof on? Like that's not good, So we've built it. And the dream now is like, okay, we want our 10,000 square foot office. We want our 10,000 square foot warehouse. We want our office inside. And now we build it. Now it's like the dream's here, So now it's like, we're like 2 weeks away from like everybody moving in, everybody having their own office, because right now there's like 6 of us sitting around a conference room table, and like everyone's, one person gets a phone call, there's a problem, it's everybody's problem. So it's so inefficient, and I credit my team for working through it, but they see what's going on, So that's the dream right there. And the dream,
and I think that's the dream of a lot of contractors, right? I don't know if you could share your revenue or not, but like when you get to those, high, when you're doing multiple millions of dollars and, hundreds of roofs a year, maybe, getting into I don't know if you're in the 1,000, but like that's what everyone looks and goes, that's what I want. But here's what I want to know. What were some of the struggles along the way that you didn't see in that dream?
Gotcha. Yeah. So we do about 500 roofs a year right now. The biggest struggle, I think, for me is I'm more of a control guy, and I couldn't just let things go. So, I mean, it was like, I think it was last year we just put our first sales team together. So it was me and Mike selling. Then we start now, like, we have 4 sales guys and they're going out. But really the biggest struggle was just trying to make that wheel, I always say that, like that gear, just turn the right way. And I mean, there's so much content out there on it now. It seems to be easy, but you still have to make it your own, Then it's like the things before, it was like when I'm up there nailing the roofs down, it's like, man, the roofing's the hard part. Like, how are we going to keep doing this day after day? We found our labor. Now it's like workers' comp audits, taxes, accounting, like everything else is the easiest thing. Like all my guys that were there nailing roofs on with me 10 years ago, most of them are still at the company. Many of them are project managers, sales reps, things like that. But gosh, these workers' comp audits, you want to get me jacked up. These scumbags come in and they just demand like 130,000 from you. Then it's like, you just got to fight them. Then all of a sudden, boom, it goes down to like 20,000. And I'm like, I don't go tell my customer, when the roof job's 20,000, then switch it to 50. Then we negotiate it back down. I'm like, my price is my price. If I screw it up, I take it on my shoulders.
Well, it's nice to be the government.
Oh, man. I tell you what, like I see a big opportunity in the roofing industry of just someone just kind of niching out on like helping businesses with workers' comp stuff. And I know you can get lawyers to do that stuff, but there's got to be like this is the first thing I'd invest into is some big nationwide company that knows every state, because we're right on the border of Pennsylvania and New York. So New York's super strict, and a lot of PA companies don't honor it. And some of the problems that we had is, we send in our subcontractor certificates. Oh yeah, everything's good until audit time. You say, oh, this is phony. I pull up all my emails. I'm like, you said it's good, like it's your word. It's, so.
What are some things you've learned in dealing with those?
So we just document everything. We save documents in Job Nimbus. The biggest thing that we've learned is, like, I told my agent, I'm like, I'm not going through another audit. Like, audit me every month. Like, I'm sending you in what we do every month. I wanted to do weekly. And he's like, no, let's do quarterly. And I'm like, I'm not negotiating after a month. I'm paying you what you deserve every month. I'm not waiting till the end of the year when, like, who knows what happened. We might have forgot something. Every stinking month, you're getting a check from me. What you do with it, if you can't deposit it until the quarter, I don't know why that would be, but like, I want it out of my account. I want you to have it. That's it, and we keep up on we send our certificates in like every month, I don't care. Just I'm annoying these people. I do not want, $130,000 bill at the end of the year.
That's a good way to go about it. So getting in front of it.
Yeah.
I would assume that you've learned what they're looking for.
Right.
Like what documentation they're looking for. And then you're putting that together and just, it's systematized. It's going to them, every month like that. That's a great idea. Mm-hmm. A big unexpected payment, man, that could make or break a year,
It's not fun. It's not fun. It's like, you're like end of the year, like, all right, like, man, we went from like nothing and now we have something. And it's like, okay, like me and Mike aren't like, let's put it in our pocket. Like, let's start building the building. Let's start making that savings cap for the building. Then, like I said, I mean, these guys come in and they're just like, this is what you owe me. I'm like, what the heck? But, and honestly, I mean, this might not be everybody out there, but like, I think there's a lot of people out there that like, and I could be totally wrong at this, and that's okay. I think there's a lot of people, I don't care if I think there's a lot of people out there that are like, hey, I'm just going to give them this 130,000. We're going to negotiate it to 80 and still, they're ahead. I lost. And just because like, at the beginning, we didn't have our documents right. Like we just hired our first secretary, like I think it was like 2 or 3 years ago, now she's doing production. We just hired a new one. And, we're just learning the game. Like not everybody has their stuff together, so.
It takes time. There is so much to learn in business, right? There's so much to learn as an owner. A lot of times you hear like a sales rep that becomes an owner, or maybe someone on the production side that becomes an owner, and they know what they do, but there's this other knowledge that you don't have, and that's the business side. It's the insurance, it's the taxes, it's all the different things that come along with this. Human resources. Like
we need HR now too. Unbelievable. I never thought we would get like, we have 18 full-time employees, like through the gutter company and through our company, the roofing side too. Then we have, our 40 to 60 subs that are working for us. So
Yeah.
Yeah, man, it's all fun though. That's the fun part
Yes.
about it. But never in my life would I have thought that I needed an HR girl. And we're like talking about it, or, an HR guy or girl.
Yeah.
Like, we're talking about it now. I'm like, but that's the joy of being a business owner. But like, my advice to be is like, what do you want to do in your company?
Mm.
Do you want to like stay small? Like, there's a lot of times where I'm like, man, Mike, maybe we should just like shrink and like, let's work like 3 or 4 days a week. And we both love to go fishing. Like, that's a great reason to be in business is, hey, I want to make, what I should make working for someone in a week, in 2 days, in a day, and then I can enjoy my life. Or you got to get over that hurdle and actually like go big and have your person doing production, have your sales team. And that way, like me and Mike can honestly, like, we're leaving next week and I am not worried about my company running 20 jobs next week. Not worried about it. And that is a great feeling, and I hope everyone can get there. And I love helping, like, even our competition, like, come in and, obviously we're not going to tell you our secrets and stuff like that. But like, I hate seeing contractors stressed out where it's like
Yeah.
hurting their family. I mean, I've seen guys in tears, like just talking and stuff. It's like, that's where I get passionate about. And I love to help people like get over that hurdle.
So I think there's two parts to that, and I've said this on the podcast many times, but a book by Robert Kiyosaki, Cash Flow Quadrant. A lot of times you start off as an employee, then you become self-employed, then some people make the leap to business ownership, and then become an investor. Maybe you exit your business, or you've made enough money that you start investing in other opportunities. What was that leap from self-employment? I mean, you talked about it a little bit, but there's a big difference there. Like, you could do fewer jobs and go on your fishing trip,
Mm-hmm.
or you can build a great team and still go on your fishing trip.
Yeah. So it's all what you want. I wanted people. Like, my dream was always to have people. And it's like, now that there's so many people around. Like, I just had an employee meet another employee at a golf outing. They're like, hey, you work at CRS? I'm like, yeah, they work there. So it's kind of funny. But I guess to get back to the question, like, staying small, it's your job. You got to be there every day. It's either, do you want a job or do you want a business? And I always wanted a business. And I realized that when I was in college, learning how to build houses, I'm like, man, in our area, I'm not down in Pittsburgh where hundreds of houses are going up, where there's like 10 a year around here that are going up, but it's like, do you want to hear about every problem? And that's a job. And like, now it's like, I always ask my people, I'm like, do I need to hear about this problem? Like, obviously, if it's like a code red, all hands on deck, I'm happy to be about the problem. But like, I pay you guys to handle the problem. And honestly, you probably handle the problem a little better than I do. So it's all what you want to do. Getting to the bigger part of the company, to the big company, is tough. It's hard, and you got to make those decisions, like letting people go, hiring people, things like that. But I enjoy being big. Right now it's the stressful time, but I'm really I don't need to get any bigger than 500 roofs a year. I don't need that. We don't have a desire to go to 1,000. Like, if you Googled Sugargrove, Pennsylvania, there's 500 people living here. There's 10 times more deer than people in my area. So it's like, for us to be this size, we're just reaching so far, traveling so far to do it. But like, customers want us, and that's why we do it.
Yeah, let's talk about that a little bit, because that's one of the other things that I think it's a mindset thing for a lot of people. And you spoke about it with other contractors in your area. Like, man, when you're in a small town, you feel like you have to go wide instead of narrow to be able to pick up that work. But to do 500 roofs a year in a town of 500 people, like, and what's the nearest, like, distance from where you're at? What's the nearest, like, bigger town?
Yeah.
Or
so
big
there's
city?
Erie, Pennsylvania, and I think that's like a city of like 1,000 people. Then there's Buffalo, New York, and I think they're like 250,000. Don't quote me on that. It might be like I looked at the demographics before, but
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, then Pittsburgh's 2.5 hours away. And I do, we don't even get
Yeah.
to Buffalo. Like,
No.
I don't even care. I'm not driving an hour and a half to Buffalo. I know, like, Buffalo Roofing's up there. They're great people. Like, if someone calls me up there, just hire Buffalo Roofing. Then we do dabble in Erie a little bit. There's, we probably do, I don't know, maybe 50 or 60 a year up in Erie. And that is a little untapped market, but we're just really trying to give the customer the best experience right now with the calls we're getting.
And this is what I really believe, that in smaller rural areas, smaller markets, man, there's an even higher lack of professionalism.
Totally. And that's really, you've nailed it. That's like one of our niches. We always say, like, we're rural roofers. So there's every contractor out there he's in that job category. You own your business, but really that's your job. And man, like that for me was really stressful. We talked about that, but now we're just kind of proving that wrong, that, hey, be really good at one thing and do it, and really, like, the community gets behind you. Like, everyone's cheering for us, and it's so easy to separate yourself from this guy, from the Chuck in the truck, because we're GAF Master Elite, we're given our warranties. It's not a David Hoisington warranty anymore. It's like, a lot of people hire me because of my name and who, I'm in the community and stuff like that. But like, I don't want to be nailing shingles on for 15 years, but at least, now you're hiring a Master Elite Complete Roofing Systems contractor. So yeah, and it's good for the people, because, like, we see, probably 20 jobs a year. We see the people, hey, I hired this guy, my roof's leaking, he won't call me back. Or we have a ton of Amish people, like, I'm sorry for roofs leaking at 9 p.m. How are you going to get a hold of these guys? And I'm not bashing them. I grew up right next to the Amish, So we just want to be that company where, like, hey, this is a big decision. Nobody wants to buy the roof. Nobody wants to spend $20,000 on your roof, but, like, don't do it twice. You know what I mean? And, like, in 20 years, if something happens to your roof, GAF's going to pay for it. If we did it right, we did all our things that we say we're going to do, and we do that. So it's like, that's what I like to see, because, it's like, man, you're a family here and you're planning your kids' college, and I'd rather see you go buy a pontoon boat than put 2 roofs on in 10 years, so.
I think that I have a couple of questions around this. Like, do you think that sometimes, okay, like, we'll frame it a little bit differently. Like, a salesperson that gets too many leads, I think they get lazy on the follow-up, right? They're just like, there's another lead coming. I'll just take that one, right? And maybe along that same line, when you're in a bigger area, there's roofing jobs to be had more prevalently, right? Like, I tell a story about being up here in Minnesota at an ICO Profit Power event I was speaking at, and I counted of the contractors that showed up, there was probably $250 million in annual revenue in that room.
Jeez.
And that wasn't the GAF Master Elite contractors. That wasn't the OC Platinum Preferreds. That was just the ICO roof pros that showed up that day.
Right.
Right. So I wonder if there's a little bit of, there's another one, right? And so the care that goes into taking care of that customer, maybe there's a little bit of that lost, or there's not enough attention paid, because in a small town, I grew up part of my life in small towns in northern Minnesota, and man, you do something wrong, the whole town knows about it pretty quick.
That's what I was going to say to your question. Like, that's what I tell my guys. I'm like, hey, man, like, everybody knows me in Pennsylvania, and my partner's from New York, and, like, a lot of people know him. So it's like, guys, just take care of these people. Like, show up to your appointments. And all of our guys are, like, really hungry. And I hate even calling them sales reps, because we're really not out there selling. Like, here's your options, So yeah, because most of the guys, like, I think 2 of our 4 guys were there next to me nailing the shingles on, so, and we hired another guy who was a lineman, a really good job. And he's like, I just want to be entrepreneurial. And, we had a hailstorm, which we never get hail, And he just saw it and he's like, dude, I got to come work for you. I'm like, you're not leaving your lineman job to come work for me. Now he's thriving in it, So, but it's the same way. He has great customer service. And I always tell my guys, like, you got to have a ton of integrity in a small town. Like a bad name will spread so fast in this little town, these little towns that we service. So, and I think that's why we are successful, is because we never want to, we know what we need to make on our jobs. We don't need to make any more than that, because we know, hey, we're in this for the next 10, 15, 20 years. So let's just keep hitting our numbers and rolling.
What are some of the things that you've done over the years to take care of that customer that maybe you didn't have to?
Yeah. So I can think of one off the top of my head right now. And this is the stuff that gets me going. Like, unreasonable hospitality. Like I read that, and that stuff gets me going. But there's this one lady, she had this massive house, and I was like, holy moly, it's a monster job, and sometimes you get thinking about it like, all right, let's just get the job. You forget about the person, but I was helping my sales rep climb the roof. It was terrible, but he ended up really getting to know her, and he found out she had cancer. And I'm like, dude, Jesse, we got to do something for her, So the day of, my sister-in-law owns a flower shop, and I'm like, listen, make me the biggest bouquet, So we went and got this bouquet of flowers, and I gave it to Jesse, and he went in there and he just, boom, gave it to her, like the day of the install, and boom, she just started weeping, And I don't even care what we made on that job. Like, that was an opportunity to just show a person that, like, it's not about the roof. We care about you, and she saw it the whole way down, wrote us this awesome Google review and stuff. And like, stuff like that. Like, I don't even want to ask him for a Google review. Like, I don't want to ruin the flowers. Then like another guy, he works at the local, builder supply store. We don't even buy shingles from him, but he's just been an awesome guy. And he got sick and just, diagnosed with stuff. And like immediately I called up pretty much their rival, B&L, who SRS owns them. And I'm like, we're going to go put a roof on this guy's house, and SRS donated the shingles to the guy that works at Carter. And, we paid for everything else and threw a pizza party there. Like, those are the jobs I remember. I mean, there's a lot of jobs we made a lot of money on, but like, that's what I try to instill in my team. I'm like, guys, you're going to make your money no matter what every year. But like, every week, let's talk about what we can do that was so unreasonable for this customer. And that's the stuff that like unloads the stress for me. It's a selfish thing, really. If you think about it, it's great for our souls. It's great for my sales rep soul who does it. Yeah, it's great for the person who's receiving it. But man, like when I'm stressed out and you hear something like that, whew, gone. I'm back at it,
Yeah. I think that's easier I think that can be a why in terms of growing your business, because, when you're bootstrapping and you got to keep everything tight, you might not have the opportunity to do something like that as much as possible.
Yeah.
I mean, you might be able to, to afford to, help someone out like that.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, the hardest thing with those things is just having the time to do it. And that's why now I'm like, I'm freed up. I'm not inspecting 300 roofs a year, climbing around, finding hail damage. And now it's like, man, I get to do this, and I get to encourage my guys to do this. And it's like, hey, we'll pay for it. Like, let's do it, and it's better than getting, like sending a hat to them. Like like everybody loves that stuff too. But like to really in our company camp checklist, it's like, hey, did the customer talk about something? Does he love the Buffalo Bills? Does he love to go fishing? And like, we try to then, like, when the project manager shows up, like, he knows something about the guy. And everybody, we have a lot of personalities at our company, and it's like, hey, if one of the guys likes fishing, let's talk about fishing and stuff to him, or buy him some fishing lures. Like, that's the exciting stuff in business.
Have you formalized a process for that? Like, do your sales reps, like take notes on certain things to pass off to production?
Yeah, for sure. So it's right in that company cam checklist. So like when our sales reps go, they got to do the checklist on, all the flashings and whatever. And then there's one at the end, and we're just like, we're like filling out about the customer. You know what I mean? Like, every roofer like hates working for the engineers who like tells you how to do your job. But if there's someone who's like super fussy about stuff, and it's like, like, hey, don't wreck this person's flower, or
Yeah.
hey, this guy is going to be a pain in the butt. Like, we have to work for those people. And if we impress that person who's a pain in the butt, he's going to go talk about us like to no end. So yeah, we do that. Then when our project manager shows up, he sees those notes. I'm sure, you've heard this before. So, but it's great though. It just links everybody in. Then like, even when it gets to the production manager, they see it and they can just how you talk to that person and really makes it personalized.
I think a lot of owners struggle at times to put in place systems like this. Systems of, hey, Pat, you have to fill in these notes. You have to maybe ask for a review. You have to do these certain things. How have you managed that?
Yeah, automation's a job, Nimbus is great. We've been automating it. And actually, to get a Google review, man, ever since we did this, we incentivized it to our project managers. $50 for a Google review, because like we last year we did so many roofs and I'm like, we got like 80 Google reviews. I'm like, we're terrible, but it was when we had that hailstorm, we're just turning jobs like crazy. And but now like our project managers, oh my gosh, they're going to bankrupt me. I'm just handing 50s out like crazy, but it's like, it makes them get a skin in the game. And, we want to try to start incentivize everything, who's the guy? A1 Garage Doors. I forget his name right now.
Yeah, Tommy Mello.
Tommy, I was just had Timmy in my mind. Yeah. Tommy, I read his book and just follow his stuff and like just creating that. Like he spent millions of dollars on just trying to get some kind of incentive program. Even with our gutter guys right now, like paying per foot, they're W-2 employees in-house. So it's difficult to do that, and you always get the pros and the cons to it, but it's like, guys, let's try to do something. And we're going to try something like that this year. But that was the first incentive that we really did that just took off like that. Now my phone's just blowing up. I mean, we're getting like 1-2 a day. It's like, man, that's $50 I've ever spent.
It is the best $50 you will ever spend. It is it's amazing. You mentioned a couple of books, and that leads me to think that, like, where did you get this? Like, has it always been in you? Like, I just like to learn things. Like, where does that come from? And what are some, what impact has that had on your business?
So it kind of goes back to like my parents. They were great. They're great people. And when we were growing up, like, we're just a normal family. We didn't have a ton of money. And like in our area, we're surrounded by like, it's like oil people, you know what I mean? So like back in 2010, oil was like $100. And three of my best friends, their parents all own these small oil companies. So they're all just like, raking in money. And then there's like our family, but like, that was the best upbringing for me, and ever since then, like whenever I was around those people, like I feel like you have the entrepreneurial bug or like you don't, and I'm just so passionate about business and being in sports growing up. Like I loved competing. Now, like I'm old and it's hard to stay in shape. And it's like, now I'm competing in business and it's so much fun. And that's why like, man, I could barely read a book in high school. I mean, my girls were doing, my girlfriends were doing my book reports and stuff like that. But now I can just when I'm sitting there, like whenever I'm like traveling, I got my buds in and listen to business books and I'm like just ready to get up and run through a wall, when I'm listening to some of this stuff. So it's great. And like,
what have been some of the most impactful ones?
Man, I'm horrible at remembering like the books, but
the names or whatever. But you'd mentioned the one it's about customer service, right? Like there's so many good ones out there.
Yeah. I'll think of some. Like I can't remember this stuff, but
I'm like that too. My Audible list is just it's huge, but
yeah, that's what I'm looking at. I'll think of a couple, but just and even like going to the roofing conferences, like the Roofing Insights one, like Andy Elliott, like he was so controversial, but like I loved him because he's like, whatever you heard about me is 10 times worse. I love that. Like, but then when he was on stage, the one thing that changed me recently is like, you know what, you asked for this. And like we were talking about the dream, like I asked for this dream. I asked for this building. I asked for 18 employees. I've been going after this so hard. I didn't ask for my great business partner, but like I got lucky and got one, and
Yeah.
it's like, man, now I'm here and I'm complaining, I'm being negative. Like, dude, that was the biggest wake up call. So now, like, I have like, you asked for this written on my bathroom mirror and stuff. See it every morning. So yeah, it's just tough, but
No, that's a great mindset to have, because we do, like, this is what we want. There's I think it was Alex Hormozy, who's become
oh
pretty
yeah,
famous recently in the marketing space. And he, if I remember right, it was him, but he talks about, like, this is what hard feels
yeah,
like.
yeah, man. It's
Like, this is what hard
I
feels
know.
like. Like if we think, and you could take it back to sports analogies, or going to the gym and things like that. It's like, yeah, that's what heavy feels like. Like, if you want to lift that, you're going to have to work your way up to it, and then when you get there, you're going to have to lift
Yeah.
it. Like,
Holy moly. Like, yeah, all the things when you're on the job, like you think these are your problems. Then now it's like, we just have people problems. Like we have team problems. We're like, hey guys, like you can't talk to each other that way. Like, bringing professionalism into roofing, it's like,
yeah,
it's tough, but like now you're at the level where, man, we hire some professional people and it just keeps bringing the team up and up. So, and that's kind of the fun thing about it too, is like when you're in sports, it is the team. And I almost feel like I'm like a general manager of a sports team, like moving people around. Hey, you might be good at this. And, hey, what if we do hire this person? Like we just hired a marketing guy, like same thing. I'm like, we're hiring an in-house marketing guy. Like I would have never thought of this, but honestly, we were advertising for a couple positions and it's just like, hey, I see your trucks around everywhere. And he knew me personally, but I didn't even know he was looking for a job.
yeah,
And he just came to us and I'm like, we can't pass on this, so.
yeah.
And
And that's a lot. There's you don't even know who you'll need. We've done. I love EOS and building an accountability chart, and kind of giving some vision to who you'll need in the future. We talked about this. Like sometimes the people that you had early on might not be the people that you need now. It's unfortunate in different places, but
mhm,
you know that's employees are a hard thing. How it sounds like this person found you. How are you
mhm.
finding people when you need them?
Yeah. So one of our things is our social media is like, we barely even talk about roofing. Like we just like to video our guys. Like we got a project manager and he does some mechanic work for us. His name's Brandon. He's like 6'3", just big teddy bear type of guy, great personality. And like anytime Brandon's in like our videos, like we're getting like 12,000 views. And when it's just me in a video talking about something stupid, it's like 1,000 views. So I just like to talk about my people, and that's the exciting part is our people's everything.
Yeah.
I wish roofs didn't have a price tag on them. I wish they just had like, hey, I just want to hire like the people that I like the most, because I wish it could be like, hey, John, thanks for calling in. Why don't you come into our office and just hang out with us? Why don't you go, like drink a beer, have a cup of coffee with us? Why don't you go? We have a clay pigeon thrower, like this commercial clay pigeon thrower. Why don't you go out back to our gravel pit and shoot some guns with the guys? Like, that's what I want people. That's why I want people to hire us. But obviously, it does come down to money
Oh,
too.
but that is why people hire people, right? Like a lot of times there is a financial decision, of course, but a lot of times it's they hire you for the connection with the salesperson, right? Man,
Mm-hmm.
David was that guy, like, I just liked him, like, and
Right.
like I like him better than I like the next person. And, maybe he's a little bit more expensive, but in liking you, I'm willing to pay that. Like,
Sure.
I wonder how you could do that. Like, that would be an amazing thing. Like, just invite everyone,
Yeah.
like, here's all our potential customers for the month. We're going to go and have a barbecue at the office. Like, you have to come here
Yeah.
for.
Oh man, That would be the dream. Yeah, that's what we're always do. Like on rain days, we got our grill
Yeah,
there, and we're like cooking up
that's
stuff. I'm
right.
like, man, just stop by.
Uh,
Yeah,
You were telling me some fun things. So I think this is it too, is to have fun in your business. And when you guys are building a new space, you've added some fun things into the space that are very uniquely you guys, right? Like it's very
yeah,
uniquely you guys. Talk about that a little bit.
yeah. So I'm actually glad we're talking about this because one of the things that like whenever I talk to other business owners, we get so like we just get the wheels turning so much on like working and I'm stressed out and all this stuff. And I'm like, guys, we never talk about like having fun. Like you can design your company to have fun. And even in one of our core values, like it's relentlessness, ownership, unity, and enjoyment.
Mm.
Like come here and enjoy. Like when you're around your customers, like enjoy your job. And if you can't come here and enjoy, especially here at CRS, like you got issues because like I said, we bought this commercial clay pigeon thrower. I mean, my employee, I go up to, we have like, I think I have like 80 acres now. And we literally have like an abandoned gravel pit that I used to ride 4-wheelers through as a kid. Like everybody in our area has been to this gravel pit and we have this thing there and my guys are up there just clicking the button. There's 4 people shooting and stuff like that. Like we have some dreams of getting a golf simulator in our warehouse now. And it's like, there's some pros and cons to this, because you create this working environment where like, oh, come on and have fun. But it's like, hey guys, we also have to do our job,
Yeah.
but most of the time people get that, and that's why they do want to come work here. And I think that's why our marketing guys like, I know you, I hear you talking in town. And I think that's why we can start attracting people rather than putting something on Indeed and getting who knows what you're going to get.
Yeah. And I talk about this in a lot of presentations and things, and I've probably talked about it on the show, but really that I think of marketing as into 4 categories, right? You're marketing for new business. You're marketing to your current, your former clients or the people that you've done work for in the past to maybe potentially get more work from them or get a referral from them. But the one that, that's kind of what you think about in marketing all the time. It's these 2 things, right? It's like, that's it. But really, you're also marketing to your team to to continue working for you, right? Like you're selling them every day. You have to sell them on why they should stay at CRS. And then in doing that showing that on social media and stuff like that, that's marketing to future employees. It's this, and we forget about that. You guys have this fun stuff going on. Are there like events that you do? Is it what kind of opportunities are you taking to bring the team together or throughout the year?
Yeah, so we have probably a couple company parties. We have our year-end company party, and that one's always a little wild. But then we have a summer party like up on our property. We like cook out, and Mike, my partner, is like a phenomenal cook, and we just pick a day, bring in all the subs, and like just have a great time. I mean, the one time, we're a little redneck, you know what I mean? But I hate to say like we're just straight redneck. We're just a little redneck, but like. Man, just getting all these guys there and just seeing how many shotgun shells and stuff we shot was just unbelievable. But we're doing an open house this year with our new building. We're trying the free roof giveaway right now.
Yeah.
Last year I think we did a couple of them for like people in need, and now we're just really trying to like make it a yearly thing.
Yeah.
So. But now we want to do a summer event, but now I'm just like, I get a little worried getting all these guys together. Like we wanted to rent some pontoon boats and go to the lake, but I'm like, oh man, someone's going to jump off a rock and do a backflip. What I mean? So, like I'm starting to try to be a little more structured and start preventing some of these problems that definitely will happen if I just let all these people loose.
Yeah. Then you got some workman's comp claims, right?
yeah. I don't want to get those people in my office again. So,
oh, that's funny. But you have to have that. Like, where is the balance? That's a tough one, man. Like, because that's the fun part. Is and that's why people stick around. People stick around because they enjoy the job, even though they can make a little more somewhere else. They enjoy the people they work with. They enjoy those types of things. How have you gotten yourself? How have you marketed yourself? Through the area and made sure that people know who you are and know who to call.
Yeah. So we just did a billboard thing, and I have this big gray Newfoundland. And actually, when we were out in Utah, someone had like roof.
Yeah.
How's yours?
Yeah.
Of the dog. Yeah. So I'm like, geez, I got this big, beautiful gray Newfoundland. So my wife actually taught the dog how to stand on the ladder, and it's like roof, how's yours? And so it's just something fun. And so we put those everywhere. Really, I mean, just social media and Google ads and stuff. I hate paying Google so much money. It's like, gosh darn it, but it works.
Unfortunately.
Then honestly, the best thing we've ever done is wrapped every vehicle we've owned. And I have no idea how many vehicles we have right now. Like if I had to guess, like 12 or 15, and that is the best thing to do. If you get anything, I don't even care if it's a nice vehicle, just wrap it, So
it is amazing how much people notice that. Mm-hmm. Like, it's crazy. They're driving billboards, right? Like, and in a lot of places people think billboards don't work. And, in a bigger metropolitan area, boy, you're going to have to buy a lot of them probably to really, make some impact. Or you could buy a bunch in a very concentrated area. Like, hey, we're going to work I live in the northwestern suburbs of Minneapolis. We're going to work this area, and so we'll just buy a bunch of billboards in this specific area,
Right. I'm not a huge billboard guy. I tried it on this one. I just think they're pretty expensive, and it's great for branding. It is good for that, but I don't know.
It's hard to measure.
I'm letting the marketing guy do it now, so
it's hard to measure. Those types of it's much easier to measure a Google Ads campaign than it is a billboard campaign.
Yeah,
it's easier, but it all works. I like to say that, like, it all works. It's really awesome. What do you think what do you think the greatest insight is that you could share with our audience that's really helped you guys find success with CRS?
Gotcha. Yeah. Man, it's all about recruiting a team. I think I got really lucky with a business partner. And partnerships can go really, it can be good or bad. I don't recommend, like, you got to be a selfless person to be in a partnership, but I know I couldn't be at the place I am right now without him, and vice versa. So I don't say I would recommend a partnership to anyone, because you got to be the right person to be in a partnership. So, but it's all about your team. Like, don't be a freaking jerk, like, treat your people well, inspire them, like, show them where they can go. And the one thing that I'm not good at doing is I'm good at like, rah, let's get going and go to work. But I'm not great at being like trusting the person to step up. But now it's like, when you see these people step up and take over, like take more responsibility and stuff, like that like gives me the chills. And it's like, man, thank you for doing that. And it's such an easy conversation to have. And like, and it's great to see these people like make a great living. Like, we're recruiting people from bigger companies that shouldn't, and we pay more. It's like, that's the beautiful thing about roofing. So just develop your team. Roofing's the tough thing where it's like, the more you put in, the more you get out. And I'm a conservative guy, so I hate spending $4,500 a month on Google and stuff like that. But it's like the time you don't do that, the wheel doesn't keep turning. And the time you don't hire that marketing guy, it just slows the wheel down. So, and that's where Mike's really good at, because I'm like, hey, I can say, hey, Mike, I can make the process to run 5 crews a day. And he's like, well, I need 4 trucks and all this. Boom, I'm just going to go buy it. Where I'm like, whoa, don't spend all that money, but we have to. If you don't spend it, you're not going to be able to produce these 5 jobs a day. So it's just what you put in is what you can get out. And you got to be that person to be able to invest and go and have the right team to do it. So
awesome, man. Thanks for your time. This has been another episode of the Roofing Success Podcast. Thank you for tuning into the Roofing Success Podcast. For more valuable content, visit roofingsuccesspodcast.com While there, check out our sponsors for exclusive offers, shop for merchandise, and sign up for our newsletter for industry updates and tips. Also, join the Roofing Success Facebook group to connect with other professionals and stay updated on the latest trends. If you enjoyed this episode, please subscribe, like, share, and leave a comment. Your support helps us continue to bring you top industry insights. The website link is in the description. Thanks for listening.